Hello and welcome to the PhD Life Raft podcast. I'm Emma Brzezinski and today I am talking to the gorgeous Anna Woolf. Anna is a part-time PhD student with two daughters, one of whom has been born during her PhD project. And so we talk today about the challenges of combining being a mum and undertaking research study. We talk about what that might look like, what sort of strategies you might put in place. And we also talk about the importance of community. So I do hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, Anna.
Hi, Emma.
Thank you so much for being here. People won't obviously be able to see this, but we are twinning today. So I just want everyone to appreciate that. We came on camera, we're like, what? So we're off to a good start anyway. So it's all good.
I think so, Emma.
Thank you so much for saying that you would come and share your experiences, because I had a lot of people emailing me and contacting me about parenthood and the PhD and the particular challenges that addresses. And you said you'd be happy to talk about that. And you said that you had some strategies. So I was like, brilliant. I know people know, I am single mum of triplets, and I'm like, any help wanted, any help is gratefully received. So I've got my pen out for those. So we're going to talk about motherhood in particular. We're going to talk about strategies, but first of all, I always ask people to talk about a bit about their own journey into postgraduate study. So tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, thanks. I'm really excited to talk to you today, Emma. So thank you for having me. So my PhD journey actually starts with my mum. So my mum has rheumatoid arthritis. She got it when she was about 27, 28 in her knee. And then when she had me, when she was in her sort of early 30s, I won't disclose the exact age, it basically, because of the hormonal imbalance of having a baby, it spread to every joint in her body. Wow. So she had this newborn baby. She had like really quite debilitating rheumatoid arthritis. So I have sort of cared for my mum, particularly in my early life up to sort of being 18, 19, before I kind of left home, quite intensely. She's had maybe 23 operations, like multiple joint replacements. Wow. But the flip side of this is that she's got a lot of gumption. That's what I would say. So when about 20 years ago, she actually set up a charity called the National Rheumatoid Arthritis Society, which is a patient-led charity. And she saw a real gap in healthcare for people with arthritis, particularly rheumatoid. Particularly around things like societal perception about arthritis and what it meant if you were a younger person who had arthritis. Right. So the charity is amazing. It's still absolutely thriving. She got an MV from the Queen. She's basically like some kind of like superhero, superwoman. But I have a very personal relationship with arthritis. I don't have arthritis myself, but as a theatre practitioner, my background is very much in kind of research, but also creative research, thinking about how to work with people to do storytelling. I use a lot of digital practice. There's just something that kind of was percolating around in my brain that there's a problem here that maybe I could try and tackle, and kind of, frame that in a way that made sense to me, which was by doing kind of academic research in the shape of a PhD, although my PhD is by practice. So it's really exciting to work with people to kind of co-produce the new knowledge. So my PhD looks at young people who tend to be the people that I work with in my theatre practice who have arthritis, which is called juvenile idiopathic arthritis, or JIA. And then my kind of, my question or my problem that I'm kind of addressing in my PhD is about how does theatre, how does digital storytelling, how do creative arts basically make better spaces for young people to have conversations about their arthritis, build community, and generally just feel better together.
Right. Wow. Wow. And I think I'm really struck with the personal connection that takes you in. And that sense of, we talked a lot with guests about the kind of the passion and the drive and the why, and that is a really strong why, to kind of keep you going and drive you forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I describe it a bit. I think it's funny because my mum, we talk about this stuff all the time. And I said to her the other day, actually, I was talking to her about a presentation or something I'd done. And, she was quizzing me a bit about a particular part. Oh, no, that's not how we would say it. Because obviously she's sort of from a charity background and I'm from a theatre and performance background. And sometimes we're talking different languages at each other. Right. But I said to her, Mum, this is like actually really, my PhD is so personal. And in some ways, you look at things that you write or academic writing that you have to sort of fulfill as part of what a PhD is. And it can feel very rigid, or it's using lots of kind of complicated terminology. But I was like, actually, this is like a love letter to my mum, because this is the best way that I feel I can be useful. Maybe I could run marathons or fundraise or something. I'm actually really terrible at running marathons. I tried to do that. I suck. But in my world, like what I'm good at is this. Well, hopefully, and this is a love letter to my mum. This is like, how can I be useful and do something of use that actually might make other people's lives a bit better? And this is the best thing I could come up with. So I feel very emotionally connected to my research, actually.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, we were just talking before we came on about a book that I'd written and how it was a hard book to write because I fell in love with the subject matter, the different companies that I was looking at. I loved them. And so it's kind of, I think the love of the subject is a real passionate drive, but it can also kind of problematize and make it difficult to write.
Definitely.
But I love that so much. I always say, especially to undergraduates, I say, reading and writing is an opportunity to fall in love. So I am all about that. That's gorgeous. So you are right in the middle of this at the moment.
I guess so. I mean, in some ways, this actually kind of segues a bit into why we started chatting, Emma, because I am tackling my PhD at a very slow pace. I started at the beginning of 2018. I actually just went through my upgrade process. So people doing PhDs probably know what I'm talking about here, but that sort of sense of where you have to write something, present something, have almost like a mock viva and kind of, get through to the next stage, get your corrections, all that kind of stuff. Yes. And I'm sort of at the start of my fourth year. I have had a baby in the middle of doing my PhD so far. I have been signed off sick because of my kids and like caring responsibility. So I have two daughters, two little girls. And so my approach to academia and my PhD is very slow and very different, I think, to a lot of other, perhaps more, what is a traditional PhD student, but perhaps to someone who doesn't have maybe as much caring responsibility. My PhD journey is much slower and much more convoluted.
And I do want to really attend to this slow academia because I love that term. But before we do that, I just want to come back to this then having a baby. Because you said I just had a baby and then I got on with it. Well, blimey, anyone who has had a baby knows that is a whole big life-changing thing that goes on. And you wrote a beautiful paper about coming back to study after the baby. And I just wonder if there's anything in terms of your reflection on that process that you would offer to people who are either just coming back or just about to come back.
I mean, I think because when I started my PhD, I'd already had my first daughter, and actually, I'd been working on my proposal because these things, again, I worked on my proposal for about a year before I even went in to be interviewed and all that kind of stuff. Very slow. when I had my sort of interruption, so my second daughter was born in 2019, and I was on maternity leave, and then it was the COVID-19 pandemic. So I kind of planned to come back earlier, but actually I just had to attend to my children who were at home. I had to be a teacher, I had to be the chef, I had to do all these other like millions of things that other parents are doing. Yeah, I think, sorry, I've lost my train of thought a little bit, Emma.
Well, it's about that kind of coming back. And I think what you're really clearly talking about, and something that we've spoken about before, is in terms of having all these other things around it, and how potentially, what I was really interested in you talking about, that sense of it putting things into perspective. Yeah,
I think so, for sure. And like, I think when you have a child, or, you know, in my case, I've got two of them trying to kind of ruin my research time. No, I'm joking. Their needs come first. But I think what it forces you to do, and this is something I've identified with other parents in my PhD cohort, it forces you into kind of slices of time, and you become hyper efficient. Often at personal cost. Okay, I'm not saying that, you know, other things don't suffer, like relationships, or the state of your hair, or how well dressed you are any given day. But I'm actually quite surprised at what I can achieve in the time that I do have. The other thing, though, is that I think there's certain aspects of my PhD that definitely suffer. Things like reading in a slow way, taking in like complex information, where maybe before, even with just one kid, I would have more time to do that. Now it's like my time is even more squeezed. But it does make you attend to what you can do in the time that you're given. And actually, I sort of surprise myself sometimes that I'm able to spin as many plates, because you just have to. And then you have to go and change someone's nappy, or phone the school, or wipe up sick off the carpet, which is what I was doing yesterday. Nice. You know. Nice. So yeah, I think there's something about it's sort of stealing you for. And you know, when I went through my transfer, I'm sorry, but my PhD, I love it, but nothing is kind of worse than giving birth, quite frankly. So I'm not scared. There's certain things in life that just don't scare me anymore, because it's just, you know, it all gets put into perspective, yes. Right? With kids.
Yes, absolutely. So this sense of a focus, actually, and of perspective. There's a brilliant kind of acknowledgements in the front of a book that I saw, and it said, with thanks to whatever they were called, Florence and Benji, without whom this book would have been written 3 years earlier. And it's just this sense of it just takes more time. So let's talk about that then, in terms of taking more time and this slow academia. And as we were saying again just before we started recording, in terms of that was always the way. PhDs used to take a long time, and now the standard has become the 3 years. That's the kind of gold standard that people are encouraged to work towards, for all sorts of different reasons, some good, some perhaps we might want to have a discussion about. Any thoughts on how you are, the sort of strategies that you're using, the way in which you're going forward with your work?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Emma. I think it was Kim Solger's blog, The Activist Classroom, where I read somebody shared it in a network that I'm in or something. Somebody wrote about this kind of idea of slow academia. And just taking time for things to percolate through. It's funny, like at the beginning, I used to have a little panic if I saw somebody else, you know, when you're like researching, you're doing, desktop research, you're reading, like collecting all your references, and you come across somebody else sort of vaguely doing your research, and you have that panic and you think, oh no, like this has been done before. I mean, we've all experienced it. But actually, I think like being really slow makes me realize that, and actually I was talking to a really good mentor of mine, a woman called Sue Mayo, who's at Goldsmiths University, who runs the MA in Applied Theatre there. She's just like a lifelong friend. And, she sort of talked about this idea of research and applied theatre, which is the field I'm in, being a field. It's a field. There's lots of things that overlap. There's things that grow together, things that pollinate each other, and not being like afraid of that. And the longer I take, you know, yes, I see other things popping up, but I kind of collect those into my field, into my garden of research. And I appreciate those things, because actually it's drawing more attention to what I think is incredibly important, which is about young people with chronic illness being heard, and having space to talk about themselves and their health in a way that's really appropriate for them. And yeah, I think strategizing around that and realizing that just having to take more time is actually a gift sometimes, because I love my PhD. I love doing it when I can. And, you know, if I had to rush through, if it had to be over very quickly, I think I'd actually feel quite bereft. It's a really big part of my identity.
Yes.
And so the more time and attention I can give it, I actually appreciate that, I think.
I love the idea of a garden of research. I love that. So how beautiful is that? And how eloquent is that as a metaphor in terms of the way that you tend to a garden? I think that's just gorgeous. I am definitely having that. So yes, so I think, yeah, just to sing the praises of slow academia, and that what we might miss as we rush past. And that, again, this sense of the gift then of being a mum and being an academic might actually help you to do the work in a richer way.
Yeah, a different and richer way. Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's so much. I've got so much here, and but I'm aware of time. So what I am going to say is that we are going to put these references in. So the references to that article, we'll find the references to Slow Academia too, so we can put that in too. We need to put a link in to Sue Mayo and her work. So we'll have all of that for people to follow up, because this is such a sort of rich field indeed. Rich garden, that's what I'm trying to say, rich garden. So before we finish, I'm going to ask you really unfairly to give us some top tips, these strategies of what you found useful in terms of coming back in as a mum.
Yeah, definitely. And so I want to talk about my friend, Sophie Williams. So Sophie and I have worked together for, oh my gosh, probably like the best part of the last 8 years in different companies and freelancing together on different projects. Sophie has written 2 books, so Millennial Black and How to Be an Anti-Racist Ally. She's just an incredible woman, an incredible kind of partner in crime. We're always, we used to work together quite closely in various organizations, things like that. Anyway, one place we were working together, we started talking about this idea of the lady gang. So bear with me, Emma. So the lady gang, you don't have to be a lady to be in the lady gang, by the way, but it's about this idea of like your network, and that if you have a problem, or you want to problem solve something, or you want to connect with someone, you reach out to your lady gang. So anybody of any gender, any identity, anything can be in the lady gang. Don't just have to be a lady, or whatever that kind of connotes. And so I have a wonderful lady gang of just people that I surround myself with, who take the time, who are interested in my research, and who I know that I can always kind of have conversations with, supportive conversations. I also have some brilliant lady gang members in my institution, Jo Lees, Paul Roberts, Rebecca Lawton, Nina Lemon, the wonderful Nina Lemon, I absolutely love that woman, who I know that they just get, and all, quite often these people are parents or have caring responsibilities, and they just get the kind of questions or the problems that I'm sort of dealing with. And I think that's really important, actually. Like I love my family, and they are in some ways burdened by me and my PhD, and taking time away from them to do my PhD, or talking to them about things that, quite frankly, they're not that interested in. They just want to have like fish fingers and chips for tea. But I know that my lady gang are there, and that they will listen to me basically, and give me feedback, or give me support, or just send me a meme, whatever it is that I need, that network is there. And so I think if you're a PhD, and often PhD is very lonely work, you're researching by yourself, and particularly in the pandemic, you're not necessarily going into an institution to be surrounded by other people. So find your lady gang online in real life, and take them on that journey together. It's about lifting each other up and supporting each other in that journey, I guess.
I love that. And I think, yes, the sense of not feeling alone is so important. We're hardwired for connection, and Absolutely. So acknowledging that need that you have, you don't. I think, again, in terms of academia, there's this kind of problematic notion of the lone scholar that is there on their own doing their thing. And of course, there's some of that. There's something of a truth to that, because sometimes you do need to sit in a room on your own and write. Yeah. But actually, there you will be surrounded by people. That's what you need. That's what you need. So make sure that you do have people. I love it. I want to be in the lady gang.
Emma, you can be in my lady gang.
I'm in. I've already sent in a request. before you forget and say no, I'm going to send a request. Thank you so much, Anna. Because I say, I know a lot of people have contacted me, but actually to say, it's been tough, but I'm doing it anyway. It's really helpful for other people to hear. And I would love to, again, just put out a call that if you would like to come and talk about your experiences, I would love to hear from you, especially from dads, from people in different family setups. That would be really useful to hear the experiences, so we can get our own kind of lady gang going.
Absolutely. I just want to shout out as well quickly. So on Facebook, there's a great group called the PhD and Early Career Researcher Parents. And yeah, it's just the amount of times I've written a note there at 4 a.m. Someone always responds. So yeah, I think that, that there are places, if you are a parent or a mum doing a PhD, where you can find other people in similar situations.
That's so helpful. Yes, I just think it is, isn't it? Having your people that will understand why it's important to ask that question at that time. I cannot underestimate that. And we'll put the link to that up too, so people that have that reference. Thank you so much, Anna. You are a really busy woman, as we know. So thank you for taking the time to be here. And thank you all for listening. Thanks.
Thanks, Emma. Thank you.